Moira Blackthorne insisted on being called Driver, never Witch on the Route 999 Night Owl. Her broom had been retired to the umbrella stand decades ago, and the only cauldron she kept now was an oversized Stanley thermos of coffee perched beside the fare box. In daylight she looked like any 60-something city employee. Posture a little stooped from switchbacks on Queen Anne Hill, silver hair piled beneath a knit cap advertising the Mariners, denim jacket patched with Union pins. But after 11:55 p.m., when the first hiss of hydraulic doors opened at 3rd and Virginia, the other Seattle came aboard. Regular mortals rarely noticed. Drunks, stumbling out of Belltown clubs, saw only empty vinyl seats. The true passengers were stitched of fog and regret. A drowned fisherman hunting for the wharf that no longer existed. A flapper in search of a vanished speakeasy. A Boeing riveter who never accepted that the war had ended. They filed past the yellow line, brushing Moira with the cold of unfinished stories, and she greeted each by name. Captain Nishimura? Trail of seawater's mostly gone, but wipe your boots anyway, she teased. Ms. Eloise, you shine tonight. We'll get you to your jazz before the moon flickers. Civilities mattered, spirits listened better than management ever had. And management, to Moira's relief, mostly ignored what they couldn't clock. King County Metro tracked the Night Owl only for route data. The supervisor's tablet registered low ridership, shrugging at why the brakes squealed like gulls, or why the air grew frosty in July. Moira guided her charges the way she once guided spells, intention first, incantation second. She whispered the old words into the tin microphone, stop requested, stand clear of doors, and the bus slid not only to curb but to corners of time. A blink of hazard lights and the vessel became liminal, thin as a crescent moon. Souls disembarked at waypoints invisible to the city map, a ghost pier under Alaskan Way, a phantom boarding house on Capitol Hill. The unmarked meadow where the Duwamish used to hold winter dances before highways split their territory. For years the system worked. The dead reached proper endings, the living slept unaware, and Moira Having sworn off grand hexes after the Battle of Mount St. Helens in '80. Found a humble vocation that paid overtime. Then, one gum-green November night, she felt something new in the aisle, a whiff of toner, the snap of fluorescent lighting, and the aroma of stale Keurig pods. The door sensor pinged 3 times. Object both there and not. A quartet in business casual floated aboard. They were translucent but not wistful like normal riders. These spirits were crisp around the edges, wrists still handcuffed by Fitbit bands. Lanyards with unreadable QR codes swayed from necks. Each clutched a laptop that never needed to close because no battery could die. Their mouths stretched into acquisition-hungry smiles. Evening, Moira said, neutral. Route 999 heads north to Ballard, then east to Fremont, then back downtown. Revision declared the one in front, a balding manager type whose poltergeist glow flickered PowerPoint blue. We're implementing a more efficient loop, direct corridor from Pioneer Square to South Lake Union, optimized for high-value afterlife assets. Moira felt the bus lurch, though her foot hadn't touched the accelerator. Exterior lights dimmed to a corporate LED glare. On the overhead marquee, her enchanted code scroll of safe passage rearranged into KPI in progress. Nice trick, she muttered, resisting the wheel's twitch. Who are you? And why my bust? We represent Rest Co., the ghost puffed with pride. A post-mortem consultancy for maximizing spectral throughput. We've acquired the contract for deferred souls in the greater Seattle metropolitan area. Funny never saw the RFP, Moira said, but her pulse quickened. Contracts mattered in magic. Names, signatures, dotted lines. They were binding stronger than silver chains. The manager extended an iPad, its screen a vortex of fine print spiraling deeper than any NDA. Sign for transition of operating authority. There's a retention package. You'll stay on as driver. We're agile like that. Moira took one look at the infinite scroll and spat 3 cedar needles from her pocket onto the glass. They burned through the device, leaving the scent of clean forest. The manager recoiled, code flickering error red. "No deal," she said. "You're poaching." Yet the bus had already detoured. Instead of climbing Denny Way, it glided east toward the steel and glass exoskeletons of Amazon, Google, and 100 startups gestating in WeWork terrariums. Restco spirits colonized seatbacks, tapping keys nobody else saw, drafting memos to restructure inefficiencies of mourning. Behind them, Moira's usual riders sensed the hijack. They muttered. A Skid Row busker plucked an ethereal guitar off key. The fisherman's seaweed coiled defensively. Fear smelled like low tide. At the next stop, more lost souls tried to board but bounced off an invisible barrier. "Capacity reached," chirped the bus's automated voice, now reprogrammed to sound like an upbeat podcaster. The unsheltered dead wailed on the sidewalk, each echo another data point logged by Restco. "Get off my route," Moira growled, twisting her sigilled key. Nothing. The ignition belonged to someone else. She glanced in the rear mirror once, a simple reflective spell, and saw instead a Gantt chart. Every passenger name had turned into an asset code, and at the bottom, ETA to final royalty B. Moira Blackthorne had avoided calling herself witch for 30 years, but old reflexes tightened her skin like laces. She reached beneath the dashboard where a red tag read "Emergency." Mortals thought it released fire suppressant. It actually opened a drawer containing 1 green stone. Serpentine from the Cascades, etched with the original logo of King County Metro, the county's pioneer profile encircled by laurels. A token of civic guardianship. The only reason she'd taken the job was that the stone resonated with municipal law, which in turn rested on older covenants of land and water. She thumbed the ridges, an oath thrummed. "Protect the journey." Moira stood, letting the bus coast on phantom autopilot, and addressed her passengers. "Friends, new policy says we're late to our appointments with eternity. I disagree. Vote?" The spirits cheered, shaking the windows with millennium-old drafts. Restco's manager piped up. "Noise complaint will be filed." "Filed and shelved," Moira retorted. Then, under her breath, "Hold on, children." She stomped back to the driver's seat and cranked the steering wheel left with her shins, counter to the sun, and spoke the actual route number backwards. 999. The bus tires screamed. Sparks of stardust skipping across Dexter Avenue. Reality tore like canvas. For a heartbeat, the bus barreled through a cul-de-sac of cloud, bypassing zoning codes until it emerged on Old Highway 99, the defunct stretch buried under Aurora Avenue, where motels still flicker vacancy even after bulldozing. The fisherman whistled approval. The flapper asked for a cigarette. Resco agents scrambled, their suits glitching into static, unused to unmetrics territory. Moira exhaled. Her back ached. Power like this cost her cartilage. Yet the battle had only started. Contractual magic is sticky. Restco simply adapted, uploading new routes to the sky, and the bus's nav screen erupted with reroute arrows. An invisible leash tightened, tugging toward South Lake Union again. She needed allies, and fast. Seattle has many spirits, most older than skyscrapers. Some had ridden her bus, others lurked in neighborhoods too hip for transit. Moira drew her phonoflip model from the 2000S. No GPS, but every number carved by hand. She dialed 3 digits that never showed on any bill. 206. Wind rushed down Aurora, carrying the scent of rain shadows and coffee grounds. On Capitol Hill, the spectre of Jimi Hendrix riffed a chord that slid along power lines. In Fremont, the concrete troll under the Aurora Bridge blinked his lone eye. Beneath Pike Place Market, the thousands of discarded chewing gum blobs quivered into a mosaic mouth. Seattle heard the call. The revolt began quietly. At 12:17 a.m., traffic lights along Mercer turned mauve, confusing self-driving taxis. Elevators in corporate towers paused at 13th floors they'd never had, forcing late-night coders to climb stairs past portraits of forgotten loggers. Sprinkler systems sprayed artesian rum instead of reclaimed water, soaking subscription scooters in ghost liquor. Restco's network relied on perfect schedules. When schedules fail, spreadsheets catch fire. Inside the bus, the corporate manager received error pings. The driver, wearing a knit mariner's cap, once dismissible, had rallied the municipal phantasm. He pointed a trembling stylus at Moira. "Cease and desist! We have synergy goals!" "Synergy this," she said, and flashed her union pin, Amalgamated Witches Local 32. The pin glowed bronze, stamping a sigil on the plexiglass shield that read, "Break times are sacred." Resco tried to redraw KPIs, but found every bullet point replaced by the phrase, "Eat the rich souls." The bus crested Finney Ridge, engine howling with cross-plane thunder. Moira smelled ozone and memory. She was overclocking the old Detroit diesel beyond mortal specs. She needed one more maneuver to sever the hijack permanently. But where? An idea surfaced. Green Lake, once shaped by glaciers, now ringed by joggers. Beneath its placid surface lingered primordial water rights that trumped any corporate charter. If she could deliver the Resco ghosts onto that groundwater juridically, contract disputes would drown in native clauses older than paper. She wrenched the gear selector. The bus swung onto a side street, tires rattling speed bumps. Ghost passengers gripped seat poles, half delighted, half terrified. Approaching the lake, Moira muttered the old tide-turning incantation under the noise of windshield wipers. Words tasted metallic on her tongue. Retirement had dulled her edge, but duty sharpened fast. At the shore parking lot, she braked. "End of line," she announced. The hydraulic doors clattered open. Mist curled in, cool and silver. Ducks slept on dark water, unbothered. Resco's lead manager laughed. "You think we're stepping off?" He raised his tablet triumphantly. "Fleet acquisition, stage 2, remote control." Instantly, phantom copies of the 9099 materialized behind the original rows of spectral buses, forming a convoy, each ready to ferry souls in bulk to optimized endpoints. Moira swallowed. She hadn't expected Resco to scale up so quickly. She was one driver. They now had a fleet. But Seattle's spirits hadn't shown all their cards. Across the lake, street lamps flicked off one by one like a reverse sunrise. The surface rippled, revealing shapes. The legendary canoe of Chief Seattle gliding just under the reflection. The silhouettes of salmon long extinct in these waters. The swirling fen of forgotten bog, the lake remembered. A figure emerged on the bus steps. Old, moccasins damp, eyes full of constellations. Moira bowed her head. Few witches meet the guardian of this basin twice in a life. "The bus route shakes the sleeping earth," said the guardian in a voice both cedar and crow. "Why do clocks ride upon it?" Moira gestured at the hover fleet. These dead were never given a choice. Corporate ghosts would box them forever. The guardian nodded, then regarded Resco. "What authority do you claim?" The manager puffed. "We hold a 7,000-page license, ratified by algorithms, notarized in blockchain." "Water erased pen before pen existed," the guardian replied. He raised a hand. A ring of ripples spread outward. The convoy wavered, transparency quivering like cheap glassware. "This is a violation of free market," shrieked another agent. But his torso was already dissolving into data drizzle. Moira stepped off, standing ankle-deep in shoreline muck. I, driver of Route 9999, petitioned to release all mortal and immortal passengers to their chosen destinations, unscheduled. The guardian studied her. "Will you bear the wanderings after?" Gladly. She meant it. The night owl had never been about timetables. So granted. The guardian tapped the serpentine token in Moira's pocket. The stone melted into emerald light that surged along the bus frame, tracing Metro's livery into vine and lightning. Doors popped open on every spectral coach, now free, and souls tumbled out like moths from a jar. Some dove into the lake's reflection and disappeared, maybe to the sea, maybe to stars. Others lifted skyward, hitching rides on wind tunnels between towers. A handful stayed to finish conversations they'd started decades back. Restco's board of phantoms tried to flee, but found the waterline expanding beneath their loafers. One by one, they slipped into contracts rendered fluid and were swept into the lake's belly, spreadsheets sopping, forecasts blurred. The Guardian would deal with them, perhaps detox, perhaps rebirth as algae. Moira exhaled until her lungs felt scraped. The bus, now less hostage than companion, idled quietly. Wind shifted. Sirens of human cops echoed distant. Someone would report a bus parked on grass. She climbed back in. The fisherman lingered near the fare box, cap in spectral hands. "Thank you," he murmured, voice like gull-wing beat. "Your wharf's that away," she said, pointing to a horizon only he could see. The flapper kissed her cheek. Ice crystals bloomed on freckles. The Boeing riveter saluted. Soon the vinyl seats lay empty. The bus blinked interior lights, restless. Only Moira remained, along with the faint scent of pencil shavings, trace of dissolved spreadsheets. She sat behind the wheel. The serpentine token was gone, but its warmth lingered in her palm. Route 999's marquee displayed plain text again. "Have a safe night." Yet something had changed. Spirits of Seattle freshly empowered would not return to the old hush. Schedules would warp. Traffic lights might flirt with teal on Tuesdays. The city had tasted revolt. Moira didn't mind. She'd never liked rigid timetables either. She radioed Central Dispatch. "Control, this is 999, slight detour, requesting open route." Static crackled, then a dispatcher's sleepy voice. "Copy 999. You're the only bus out. Do what you gotta. Just bring her home before dawn." "Will do," Moira smiled. Home was flexible. She guided the bus onto Ravenna Boulevard, tires humming lullabies. Stars smeared across wet asphalt like glitter thrown by a careless god. Every few blocks, a new lost soul hailed her, unsure of where they stood between yesterday and what comes next. She opened the doors each time, no fare required. Tonight there was space for everyone.